Morning everyone. It's a cold start to the day today. It's about 10 o'clock on Sunday and I've just come down to do a little bit of final sowing, but all the paths are covered with manure and soil. The birds have had a field day worming, so I've just started to sweep up, and I just came to the little clump of Burpee's golden beetroot that I sowed as an afterthought. There were just a few module sown beetroot that were left over from the main planting out, and I thought, well, they're very top heavy, they need thinning, and these are the three that I've taken out for lunch today. Three really nice examples. So the sun's coming out now. I'll finish sweeping up, it'll warm me up a little bit because it's only about 6 degrees, and then I'll get on with that final sowing. Well, it's continuing to warm up and I'm still sweeping the paths, but I'm not in a rush this morning. I've only got a few jobs to do, as I say, and I just thought I'd show you the horses opposite. The paddock owner's daughter has bought another horse, and it's the one with the pink coat. All the horses are starting to have the coats now because, as I say, we've had a few frosts. And this one here with the pink cover on is a really stunning horse. It's got really strange eyes. It's a piebald, and really pleased to see it here. One, it's nice just to have the horses around you, and you do worry sometimes that the paddock owners might let the horses go as the children grow up and, you know, they're no longer interested. But this one, as I say, is beautiful. Its eyes are really strange. They're difficult to describe, really. A milky blue they are, and we've got two there, and we've got two here, and there's another one in the paddock next to it. And we're really lucky to have the horses because it takes some of the legwork out of the plot maintenance, because at the front of the original allotment we've got two large manure bays, and you can see to the left here, this is about 13 or 14 feet long, this section, and about 4 feet deep. And to the right of the gate we've got another bay that's about 2.5 meters by a meter, and then there's another sort of cubic meter at the other side. And what we tend to do is we tend to throw it from here up into the box at the side, and the box at the side will be covered up probably in a month or so, and it's most of the stuff in there is a year to 18 months old, and that'll go into the bottom of our pots next season because it'll be well rotted down. But the manure that we're looking at here represents about 2 months worth of manure, and most of it has come from the horses over there, and all the paddock owner does is comes through the gate and just wheelbarrows it and offloads it here. So I mean, I don't know how many tonne there are there, but the one at the section at the back's been heaped up, mounded up, so that'll be denser. But there's probably about, I would think, 3 or 4 tonne there, and probably 1.5 tonne in these two bays here. So we're very lucky. And the horses, like me, are just enjoying the sun this morning. They're coming round slowly. But I need to lose a few pounds because I've been having too many puddings as we've been harvesting fruit, crumbles and pies and what have you. So I need to get a bit of a spurt on and finish sweeping all 4 plots up. Catch you later. Hi, me again. Well, I've swept the first and second allotments. They look a little bit tidier now. But it's that time of the year when you think things are slowing down and, you know, there's not as much to do as there was in the middle of the season. But then the penny starts to drop and you realise, you know, there's still quite a bit of work in front of you. The beds are okay, but because I've been quite busy at work this last few weeks, you can see there's a smattering of weeds around the edge of the dug beds. There's not much, but there's a little bit here and there, and they need to be taken up before they go to seed, because they can still go to seed at this time of year. So all the squash leaves have broken down in the frost, and that's the other thing, the weather. As you can see, we've got some beetroot and some dwarf French beans here, and they are suffering a little bit with the cooler temperatures at night. You can see that the foliage on the beetroot has really suffered here. We've got the autumn raspberries at the side, so they provide a little bit of shade probably in the earlier part of the day, and the ground slopes off to the left here, and so it acts as a kind of cold sump, I guess, and as a result, as I say, the foliage is not fared too well. And you can also see some damage on the foliage on the last sowing of dwarf French beans. And I just had a look at these and I noticed that there were quite a few. You can see one right at the end there poking through. There are quite a few that are ready, and most of them are just at the flowering stage, but there might be enough for a meal, so I'm going to take that netting off. But coming back to the jobs that are to be done, you can see here that the foliage on the autumn raspberries is dying back, and in the course of the next month or two all of these will have to be chopped back, right back to the ground, and that will give us an opportunity then to see any weeds that are in the base. There'll be nettles, there are always nettles, it's very, very difficult to remove them. They'll have to be taken out, any couch grass or anything like that. And then when we've time, we'll mulch all of that border with manure as well. You can see that we've got the second sowing of dwarf French beans here, and I left these for the seed, and there's quite a bit of grass in that as well, so I will need to take the bean pods off, and they're not, because the weather's changed, they're not drying out as they should do, as the first sowing would have done by now. So that's a job to be done as well. And then we've got the continuing harvesting, and I've got to take the leaves off the sprouts again, and probably to provide some support because a couple of them have fallen over. We did have them in cloche nets, and that held them together a little bit, but with the winds that we've had, they're splaying about a little bit. So yeah, things are quietening down a little bit on the one hand, but as things die back, they reveal all the jobs that have got to be done. So I'm going to take a look at these beans now. I'll show you at the end of this update what I've harvested today. So some dwarf beans there. I might have a look through these beetroot as well, and I might take the first leeks of the season as well, and possibly a few parsnips. So I'll finish sweeping up now, then I must get a little bit of sowing done, and then we'll finish off before lunch with a little bit of harvesting. 108 Musselburgh leeks, and because we've had a little bit of rain over the last week, the ground's in lovely condition, as you can see. It's very, very friable, the soil, and soft. It's quite nice soil this, but it's had several feet of manure on it over the last 5 seasons, and it's also a good time to pull out the weeds as you harvest, because they come up quite nicely as well. And you can see there are two spacers. They're planted about 9 or 10 inch apart, and these are the first two Musselburgh leeks of 2018, and I'm pretty pleased with those. I think they're really nice. That one obviously was buried perhaps a little bit deeper. The dibber went in quite well this year, but one or two were a bit firmer. There might have been some heavy clay or something like that. But there are only 3 of us for lunch today, and we shall be having carrots, leeks, French dwarf beans, parsnips and orange beetroot, along with gammon and roast potatoes and some Yorkshire puddings as well. So we'll have our 5 a day, probably all in one meal today. So they're the Musselburgh leeks. And here are today's carrots. We've got some Chanteray red cord on the right. They're not massive, but they'll actually cut quite well when they're smallish. And then I think we've got some Artemis on the left. But whenever I pick the carrots on the no-dig plot, I always have visitors, and the girls are back again. 3 of them this time. Rio and Ruby are here. You met them last time. And the one in the middle, the spotted one, is called Minnie. That's Minnie. Hiya Minnie. Say hello. How are you doing? You ready for some more carrots? Are you? Alright then, they're coming. I'll just go and pick them up. Right, they're moving out of the way because the big girl's here. Rio. Come on Minnie. Here we go. Come on, before she comes. That's it, let's go. We'll go and get some for the other 2. There we go. Yeah, Rio. Here's yours. Hey, don't eat my hands. So I've got a few more. Pick all these up. It's going to be a free for all with these ones. This is why you need a high fence. The paddock owners put a lat across the top. I left the post deliberately that little bit higher, because you can see they've got long necks, and this one here would be taking stuff out of this bed, just about. Never mind telling others to move away. Come on, out of the way. Come on. Come on, Rubes. There you go. Ruby's got some. This one's not very quick. Looking in the wrong place, Rio. Well, Ruby's taking some and she's off. Yeah. Just like last time, the big one tends to frighten the other ones off a little bit. But they've all had a few. See, look, they're a little bit wary, aren't they? The 2 white ones. See, I don't know. Life's not fair, is it? Never mind, they'll get some extras. And we'll just pop into the last greenhouse with tomatoes and see what we've got. Just rounding up now the last few. Got some Black Russian there at the back, a couple of Brandy Boy, still got some black cherries, pink Berkeley tie-dye, and this one is a Caspian pink, I think. and a German Johnson, and then we've got some of the Japanese black trefoil. So I've got a couple of punnets, and I won't take them all, but I'll take enough for meals this week. I cook in the week, in the evenings, and my wife cooks at the weekend. So these will go into stir fries and sauces that we make. So yeah, tomatoes. And that is it for 2018 for the tomatoes. I've just been round all of the plants and I've felt every individual fruit, and you can see some shrivel in the absence of any water because they've not been watered for such a long time. But the key thing really at this time of the year is that your tomatoes are still relatively firm, because although they may look okay, if we look at this one for example, it looks nice, but as soon as you touch it, with the slightest of touch, you can feel that the tomato gives and that it's watery. They're no good. There's no point picking those and taking them home. So I've been around every plant, as I say, and with the exception of possibly one or two of these that are still firm, the rest have started to go soft. You don't want to use them even in cooking because they won't taste right. Right, so that's my tomatoes finished for this season. So that's another job. I'll have to remove the remaining plants. But then I've got to sort out the compost, and I think this is going to go on top of the hay on the third plot. So, but we generally get into the middle of October with our tomatoes, so that's July, August, September, maybe the first 2 weeks in October. So we can't grumble, and these are still really nice. So we'll add those to the other veg that we've taken this morning, and we'll see what we've got. And this is what we've ended up with today, on Sunday the 7th of October, this morning. I've spent the last 40 minutes or so just taking root veg and what have you, and we've got the tomatoes that we just saw, 2 punnetfuls and 3 parsnip. They look a little bit better when they've been washed, as will the carrots. 2 beautiful leeks. A bag of dwarf French beans, not that many, but hopefully if the weather improves over this coming week, those flowers will turn into more beans, but there's enough for a taster today. Some burpees, golden beetroot, and quite a bit of bolt hardy beetroot as well. So someone once said to me around this time of the year, have you mothballed your allotment then now? Have you bedded it down for winter? Well, the truth is that an allotment never really sleeps, does it? Particularly when you're growing winter veg. And we've seen the last of the tomatoes today. All the cucumbers and peppers have gone now as well. But we are going to put some of the greenhouses to use, and we'll be growing winter salads. And the leeks and carrots and beetroot and parsnips and sprouts and cabbage, they'll keep us going through the winter. Right, I might not have time to do the sowing before lunch because this is taking a little bit longer than planned, but we'll be back down this afternoon, so I'll catch you later. Welcome back. Come down to burn off a few calories after that heavy Sunday lunch. definitely didn't need the pear crumble after, or the Yorkshire puddings that went with the lunch. Really enjoyable. But I need to be active, so here I am again. And before I go into the large greenhouse to do a little bit of sowing, I just thought I'd show you these 3 large beds here. They're on the 3rd plot. You can see the stable with the first plot and the second plot are just to the other side of the raspberries. But at this side we've got 3 beds that are 20 feet by 9 feet. Now that 20 feet extends from the path right up to the fence. The raspberries have encroached a little bit, so actually we've only had about 18 feet of growing area. And the plan here with these 3 beds in the coming season is to convert them into no-dig beds. They've been dug for the last 3 seasons and had copious amounts of manure put on them, so they're in fair condition. But the plan, as I say, is to have them as no-dig beds. And I think what I'm inclined to do is to split each bed, because the width lends itself to that, into 2 long 18 foot by 4 foot beds. So we'll have a foot walkway up the middle, and we'll have a long bed at each side. And the beds are long enough really to divide into 4 if we wanted to, so we could have 4 on each, that'd be 12, and we could rotate within each bed. So there are lots of possibilities. We can either go for full beds with 1 crop, or, as I say, subdivide. And you can see on the brassica bed here, we lost some of the brassicas in the summer, but we left some January kings in. They're okay, they're hearting up nicely. But it's got hay on. This is hay that the horses in the top paddock, the ones that we saw earlier, didn't eat, and it got dirty and messy, and they'd weed on the bed and done the business, and obviously they weren't interested anymore. And you can see it's lost that green look to it that fresh hay has, and it's now more of a brown layer. So I'm going to put all my remaining spent compost on this bed, and I think it's all tomato pots that the compost is in. So I've kept the compost clean, so hopefully we shouldn't have millions of tomato plants next season. So that's the plan. Right, so we'll head off into the greenhouse now, and you can see, just looking at the flowers, that they're on their way out. The frost's got a few of them, and the wind has also not helped. But it's been a good season for the flowers. So off we go into the greenhouse. All of the remaining baking apples have come off now, and my cousin's going to take those. I've had my share. I took all the windfall apples, and these were the ones that were left on. And I've shown you these salad trays already. I need to do some pricking out. I've not quite decided how I'm going to pot on the pak choi and tatsoi here. I may put them into small pots, or I may just put them into watering trays and limit the number in each tray. But we'll see, I've not decided. Spring onion are just going to be left to grow on a little bit, and most of the staging at this side has still got the squash on, and they'll be here for a good week or two yet before they migrate up to my house at home, and a few will go to my cousin as well. For the time being, I'm going to sow some more mixed salad leaf, but I'm also going to sow some, I think it's called Red Kitten, and it's like a baby spinach leaf. So that's the plan now. You've seen me do this before. All I've done is I've used a watering tray that's about 19 inch, 20 inch long by maybe 15 inch, 13 inch, something like that. It's about 8 to 9 centimetres deep, and I fill it with compost to about a centimetre or so, 2 centimetres from the top. Scatter salad seed over the top. I'll do the same with the spinach leaf, although I'll do that more sparingly, and then I just sieve a bit of compost over the top. So you can see, looking at the existing salad, that the 2 at the top there have grown quite well, and the last 2 These will probably reach maturity over the next month, but it may be a little bit longer because obviously the days are shortening, the nights are drawing in, it's much cooler, and the 2 trays that I'm going to sow now will probably get to this size and then remain at that size till probably the back end of February, I would think. So October we'll be taking this leaf, because there's actually quite a lot of leaf there. It would probably fill 2 carrier bags, and the first one is still to do quite a bit of growing yet. So yeah, I'll get on with that now, and I'll get the salad leaf and the spinach leaf sown into these 2 trays here. Well, that's the seed on, and I'm going to have to call it a day on this update because my battery is just about to run out on my phone. But I just thought I'd show you the seed so you could see how densely that's been scattered over the top. That's the mixed green and red salad. The one on the right is the mustard seed mixed oriental leaf, which is a much smaller seed. Yeah, so that's it. I'll get that covered up presently with a bit of fine sieved compost. But for this update, that's it. Okay, hope you had a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. All the best. Cheers.